Hey guys! In today's video, we'll be talking about 7 real-life serial killer cases that turned into movies. But before we continue, please leave a like, subscribe to our channel, and activate the notification bell, as this will help us a lot to continue bringing you content like this. So don't forget to comment and share with your friends, okay? Well, we have to say that these movies are based on real stories of serial killers and are highly recommended for those who are interested in the genre. Remember that some of these movies may contain strong and disturbing scenes. Watch with caution. Now, let's stop wasting time and get to our list. Starting with Zodiac. Zodiac is a crime thriller film directed by David Fincher. The film is based on true events and takes place in the late 1960s. The story revolves around a cartoonist named Robert Graysmith, played by Jake Gyllenhaal, who becomes an amateur detective pursuing the footsteps of a serial killer known only as Zodiac. The killer terrorizes several cities in Northern California, taunting the police and local newspapers. He commits a series of complex crimes and always calls the police to warn them of the details. Soon after, in search of fame, he begins sending letters with riddles to the newsrooms of several newspapers, calling himself Zodiac. The film is a tense and meticulous portrayal of the hunt for the Zodiac killer who committed his crimes in the San Francisco Bay Area during the 1960s and early 1970s. He demoralized the police with cipher letters sent to the newspapers. Other cast members: Mark Ruffalo as Inspector David Toschi. Robert Downey Jr. as Paul Avery. Monster. Monster is a biographical drama film directed by Patty Jenkins. The film is based on the true story of Aileen Wuornos, a prostitute who became a serial killer. Aileen Wuornos, played by Charlize Theron, is a woman who was abused during her childhood and became a prostitute in her teens. She is about to end her own life when she meets Selby, played by Christina Ricci, a young lesbian who was disowned by her family because of her sexual orientation. Aileen and Selby start a friendship that eventually turns into an affair. Aileen decides to stop prostituting herself and find a decent living, which she fails to do. To support herself and her lover, she returns to her old profession, but during a trick, she kills the client. From then on, Aileen will continue killing, leaving a trail of crimes behind her and putting the police on her trail. The real Aileen Wuornos killed 7 men, was arrested, tried and executed in 2002, being treated by the press as the first woman in the United States to be a serial killer. Extremely Wicked, Shockingly Evil and Vile. Extremely Wicked, Shockingly Evil and Vile is a biographical film that portrays the life of Ted Bundy, one of the most notorious serial killers in the United States. The film is told from the point of view of his girlfriend, Elizabeth Klopfer. Ted Bundy, played by Zac Efron, killed at least 30 women in 7 U.S. states during the 1970s. He became famous nationwide, partly because of his reputation as a seducer, which led him to gain several fans, and partly because he acted as his own defense in court. The film focuses on the dysfunctional relationship between the killer and his girlfriend, Liz Klopfer, played by Lily Collins, which lasted for 7 years. Klopfer became one of Bundy's most loyal defenders, refusing to believe the truth about him. It is worth noting that there are other versions of this film. The Golden Glove. The Golden Glove is a thriller film directed by Fatih Akin. The film is set in 1970s Hamburg and is based on the true story of Fritz Hanke, a failed man with a deformed face. Fritz Hanke, played by Jonas Dassler, is a regular at the bar The Golden Glove, where he meets older and lonely women. No one suspects that Fritz is actually a serial killer. He stalks these women and dismembers them in his filthy apartment. When the newspapers start reporting the successive disappearances of several women, fear and chaos take hold of the city. The film is a grotesque and disturbing portrayal of the life of a serial killer. Helter Skelter. Helter Skelter is a 2004 film written and directed by John Gray. The film reconstructs the most shocking and striking case of serial killers that happened in the U.S. in the 1960s, the Tate LaBianca case, which were murders committed by the Manson family led by Charles Manson. The film shows the bloodthirsty murders led by the enigmatic Charles Manson, played by Jeremy Davies, a man frustrated by an ill-fated rock star career, and his group of followers, the famous Manson family. Actress Sharon Tate, wife of filmmaker Roman Polanski, was pregnant when she was brutally murdered, being one of the victims of the family Manson. The story is told from the perspective of Linda Kasabian, played by Clea Duvall, a young woman who has a small daughter, Tanya. With nowhere to go, she ends up living with Charles Manson and his family. Upon arrival, Linda is separated from Tanya, as one of the rules imposed by Charles is that all children stay together and away from their parents. With no option, Linda accepts this situation. Soon she would realize, to her despair, that this was the least of the problems because the members of the family guided by Manson committed brutal deaths. The Awakening of a Murderer. The Awakening of a Murderer is a film that portrays the life of Jeffrey Dahmer before becoming known worldwide as a serial killer. The film is directed by Mark Myers. Jeffrey Dahmer, portrayed by Ross Lynch, was a shy and lonely teenager. He dealt with family problems, peculiar interests, and the pressure of high school and adolescence. Gradually, the young Dahmer becomes the man who would come to terrorize America. Dahmer is considered one of the world's most famous serial killers who raped and murdered 17 men and boys between the late 1970s and early 1990s. Citizen X. Citizen X is a thriller film directed by Chris Giralmo 12. The film is based on the actual story of serial killer Andrei Chikatilo, also known as the Rostov Monster 12. Andrei Chikatilo, portrayed by Jeffrey DeMunn 12, was the first serial killer discovered in the former Soviet Union. From 1978 to 1990, he killed more than 50 people, with children and young women being his main targets. The film is told from the point of view of investigator Viktor Burikov, played by Stephen Ray 12, who dedicates himself for years to discover the identity of the murderer. The story takes place at a time when the Soviet Union did not accept the existence of serial killers, considering this a problem only of capitalist countries. With that, we close our list. Now you tell me, do you like the content? So leave your like, subscribe to our channel, and share with friends. Thank you and goodbye.